So this application here is basically finished now, but there's one last struct related feature I want to add. Because at the moment, in this learn go JSON file, we get the same titles here, the same keys here in this JSON format that we also defined in our struct. And that's of course probably expected and also fine, but for JSON content, it would be more common to have lowercase keys here. And for example, instead of using created at like this, we might prefer created at like this. So it would be nice to have different keys here in the output JSON than we have here in this struct. And this can be achieved with help of a feature called struct tags, which is a feature built into Go. Struct tags are essentially metadata that you can add to your struct fields. And that metadata can then be picked up by any code or package that cares about it. And it turns out that the JSON package does care about such metadata. If it is defined, it will be considered. So here we can add such metadata to the title, for example, by adding backticks. Opening and closing backticks. Not single quotes, but instead the backtick character on your keyboard. That's how you add a struct tag. And you add struct tags to fields in your struct. So here we're adding one to the title field. Now that struct tag can then be used to assign metadata. For example here, you can add JSON : to add a JSON key here, so set the JSON metadata field onto this title field. And then set this to any string value of your choice, enclosed by double quotes. And there is no fixed set of metadata keys you could target. Instead, you can add any metadata you want here, but it will depend on the code that processes this node, whether that metadata does something or not. And the JSON package here will look for this kind of metadata, which has this format, JSON and then a colon, and it will then use whichever value you specify between the double quotes as a key in that JSON output it generates. So if I, for example, define ABC here as a value for JSON in this struct tag that is assigned to the title, then ABC would be used as a key by this JSON package once it processes the node and stores its title. That's how that works. Now here I don't want to have ABC, but instead simply title with a lowercase t. And we can now add similar struct tags to the content for content and created at, and here I'll use created at like this. So not just lowercase, but instead also with an underscore to separate the words. And that's how you can add such struct tags, so how you can add such metadata. And it's really important to understand that by default this won't do anything if you don't have some code or a package that picks up that metadata and uses it, like the JSON package does. And therefore that's all. If you save that, and you then maybe delete this learn.json.go file and this empty learn.go file we had from earlier, and you then run this application again, and you enter all your data, you get the same output as before, of course, but we now have this learn.go.json file, and in there you now find these new keys. Especially here at the created at key, you can see that the struct tag was picked up and was used by this JSON package. So struct tags is another feature you should be aware of, because certain packages use that feature, like the JSON package does, to change their output or their functionality.